Leclerc and Franco Colapinto. A very warm welcome to the three of you. Franco, if we could start with you, please. A brilliant race last time out. Just how much of a breakthrough was China for you?
Weekend.
Confidence is a fickle thing for drivers. Just how much happier are you with this year's car compared to last year?
I'm happier, of course, that when you can fight a bit further up, it makes you feel more confident and makes you, give that extra little bit in different situations. And I think when you are so close to go through Q3, when you're in the fight, it is different. And last year, unfortunately, we didn't have that. This year is looking much better. And of course, the car did steps, and it's looking much closer to our teams. And that, I think also knowing that we have a lot of performance coming, or that we see many different things to improve, it's also really positive. When you are up there and you know that you've got many things to fix and to improve, it's even better. So I think looking forward to this year, it's feeling more competitive, and that makes you happier. And of course, we want to be fighting for points consistently, which is what we are looking for and trying to aim at.
And you think you can achieve that this weekend at Suzuka?
Yeah, we'll see. I think it's another new weekend, new track, very different on energy, on kind of corners, very long, very high speed. So it's going to be really different. I think still we need to understand our biggest weaknesses and where we are still needing to work more. China was a really different track to this one, so we need to see. But I think generally it's new for everyone. No one really knows where it's going to be, and we need to wait until tomorrow.
All right. Well, best of luck this weekend. Thank you, Franco. Lance, if we could come to you now. Difficult start to the year for the team. Given the problems, how would you describe the mood in the team? Let's start with that.
Well, everyone's just working as hard as they can to improve the situation. For sure, none of us are happy with where we are. It's not the start of the season that we hoped for. But yeah, it is what it is, and just working as hard as possible to improve it.
Can we talk about potential improvements? I mean, laps have been limited, we know that, but do you believe the car still has potential?
I think so, yes. We know we have issues on the engine side. There's areas we need to work on with the car. I think high-speed corners is still a weakness for us. So, yeah, we're just trying to improve in all areas that we can, that we know that needs work. And, yeah, it's just about bringing performance as quick as we can.
Honda's home race here in Japan. What does success look like for you here at Suzuka?
Well, we're just trying to improve the issues we had in China. I mean, in China we had big vibration problems, reliability issues. So just tackling some of those problems, and I think getting both cars to the checkered flag would already be a good step forward for us.
Okay, look, final one from me. There's a lot of speculation surrounding the role of team principal at Aston Martin. What are your thoughts on it? Do you think Adrian has too much on his plate as things stand?
I mean, I don't know all the details about that, but I know Adrian's a team principal right now. I know that we have to improve the engine, we have to improve the car, and I think that's what everyone's focused on.
All right, thank you for that. And Charles, if we could come to you now. 2 races, 2 podiums for Ferrari so far this year. How much potential does this year's car have? You say you're in an okay-ish place. Just how close to Mercedes are you?
I don't think it's as close as what maybe people think. Obviously, seeing the first few races, we see lots of fightings between the cars, which is actually quite nice. But as soon as you are a little bit suboptimal with these cars, you lose a lot of lap time. So our only chance to stay with them is to annoy them in the first few laps, but as soon as they get free air, then they've shown their real pace in the last race. And I think there's still these 4 or 5 tenths that we've seen throughout these first two races. So it's still a significant advantage, but yeah, I mean, that doesn't discourage me. And again, we have some things in the pipeline. We've got to focus on ourselves, not trying to overdo, because it's never good in these situations, and then we'll see where that brings us.
The gap between you and Mercedes appears to be a little bigger in qualifying than it is in the race. Do you think the energy recharge changes for qualifying here at Suzuka will bring you closer to them?
I don't think it will be a game changer. I think it will be pretty similar, apart from for the driver, where maybe a little bit less lift and coast, which is, I think, a good thing. I think for qualifying there are still some changes that needs to be done to make sure that we can push at the maximum whatever the limit of the car is. But at the moment, so far, for the first 2 races, it was more about managing everything properly in qualifying rather than the actual flat-out push that we were used to in Q3 in the past year. So there's still some fine-tuning to be done on that. But I don't think that this particular change will be a game changer for this weekend.
Okay, thank you for that. Let's now open this to the floor. We will start with the broadcasters. Who's first, please? David, yeah.
David Croft, Sky Sports F1. Charles, on that subject then, of tweaks that can be made for qualifying, what would you do if you had the power to improve things? What would your suggestions be?
I don't really want to go into the detail of this, because it's so complex and there are so many different little things that you can do. And I also think that obviously whenever there are these kind of changes, everybody's pushing a little bit its agenda. So, but I think, just whatever solution that helps us to push at the maximum those cars, because that's what I loved. I mean, that's what I love about this sport, really, is when you get to Q3 and that you have the maximum pressure on you to deliver at best at that moment, and that you try and do a lap that you haven't done before. And at the moment, this is not possible, because every time you do something that you haven't done before, then the car is just trying to adapt to it, and it makes you lose more than what you gain. So I think this is the biggest problem at the moment. The solutions is very, very, very complex, and yeah, but I know that everybody is trying to brainstorm ideas in order to find the best solution, and hopefully we come with a good solution very soon.
Charles, have you done a qualifying lap of Monaco on the simulator with these cars yet?
I mean, we've got quite a lot of issues to solve, so Monaco is quite a long way before we think about it and try it. So no, I haven't tried Monaco yet, but yeah, haven't tried Monaco yet.
All right, thanks. Next one.
A question to Charles. Charles, on this track, Ferrari can do something like Max did last year, beating the strongest McLaren?
I think it's a very different situation. I think after the first free practice, we'll already have an idea of where we stand compared to the Mercedes. I don't see any characteristics that would change drastically what we've seen in the first 2 races. So at the moment, I will say no. But yeah, let's wait and see. There's still some very long back straight where we know Mercedes is going to be extremely strong, but it's also a very twisty track in the first 2 sectors. So hopefully we can have a big enough advantage to be faster on the overall lap. But at the moment it looks unlikely with the picture that we've made ourselves in the first two races.
Charles, Sebastian Vettel once said, in some way everybody's a Ferrari fan, and people love to see you fighting front again. After all these years in red, what's Ferrari to you?
I mean, Ferrari is a family and a team that I've always loved and dreamed of driving for since I'm a kid. And this hasn't changed one bit since I joined the team in 2019, so the passion is still there. Then, of course, the will to win, and we want to win eventually, and I want to win. It's been so many years, obviously, working with the team to try and come back to the top. It's been a good step forward this year. We are just not yet where we want to be, and we'll keep pushing towards that direction. And I hope our time will come soon, because, yeah, it's been a long time since I started, and obviously time's passed. I'm doing my best, and I hope our time will come this year or as soon as possible.
Thank you. Next.
Andrew Benson, BBC Sport for Charles. Charles, there have been two different races on different tracks where there's both been these yo-yo type racing battles that you've been involved in, among others, perhaps for different reasons. Can you explain why those battles are happening in that way, and if it's different from track to track, the reasons why? And also, on a wider scale, is it like Mario Kart, as some people have said?
Honestly, I was a bit skeptical. I mean, I was very skeptical at the beginning of the year, and after testing, I had some particular expectations going into the year that weren't very good about racing. I've been positively surprised. At least for us in the front, it's actually been a lot nicer than what I thought. And surely you've got some overtakes that are artificial, just like it was the case also with DRS sometimes last year. However, there are also many overtakes where it's actually on the limit, and where you end up in a similar state of the battery at the same point for different circumstances, and which makes it actually quite fun. We've seen it in Australia, we've seen it in Shanghai, and I've had a lot more fun than I initially thought. As I said, I think in qualifying it's not the most fun I've had, so this is maybe something that we need to look at. But in terms of fighting, I enjoyed it a lot more than what I thought. And why that? Well, it's mostly because Mercedes is quite a bit stronger than us, but as soon as you get out of that optimal window of the battery, you lose a lot of lap time. And so that brings the cars together, and that's why there's a lot of change of position, together with the fact that the car behind recharges more than the car in front. So all of this, I mean, these two things specifically makes it quite difficult to go away once you are in a fight.
Franco, can I bring you in on this? You were involved in many battles in China. Was it like Mario Kart for you? How much did you enjoy it?
Not quite. I managed to see in front a lot of laps, so to me it was quite fun, and I think to me it felt better and more fun to be fighting with cars with a different PU, because I think that energy management is different between the teams and between the different PU manufacturers, and then it becomes a bit easier, I think, to fight, to defend as well, a bit more difficult, but it kind of brings battles a bit closer with each other, because it's so different where the teams use energies, which makes it a bit more interesting. I think generally it is difficult to follow, but I've been following close some cars, and it feels better than last year in terms of turbulence and all that kind of thing. And to be honest, it felt fun. China was a good race, and I did enjoy it quite a lot. I enjoyed the defense, and when I was attacking others, and generally it was pretty good. It didn't feel too artificial. I think the overtakes were just on the limit all the time. I've seen some that were a bit more artificial, but I think it's part of the changes that the sport made, and that's still improving, and it's still going on the right direction. And I think it's still a lot of areas to make better. And the important part is that they are looking at those, and that they understand them, and that they are having, I think, a clear look at it, and they will make it better with the races. It's been only 2 races at the minute. It's really early to talk to say if we like it or not. But I think generally it's going to be better with the races as well, and with the years.
Thank you for that. Let's bring in the written media now as well. Who's first, please?
It's another one for Franco. There are some talks lately about a potential show run from you in Buenos Aires. I don't know if you're in a position to confirm that, but even if not, what would it mean in general terms? And also, what would it mean to you to drive an F1 car in Argentina with all the enthusiasm going on?
It would be super cool. It's something I always wanted to do, because it's so hard for the people from Argentina. I've got so many fans and so much people supporting me since I was very little in F3, and it's been 25 years since an F1 driver raced since an Argentine driver raced in F1. So I think for me to be able to bring a Formula One car to Argentina with all these super passionate people and fans of the sport, it would be super cool. I know it's really hard for them to come to races. It's such a big effort and such a big sacrifice that for me, the team, sponsors to be able to bring a car there for them to enjoy and to have the experience, it will be amazing. I don't think anything is confirmed or close from it, but it's a dream I've had since I joined F1 and something that in the future it will be amazing to happen. I don't know if now or whenever. I would really like that this thing goes ahead and yeah, let's see. But yeah, I have nothing, no news or nothing confirmed. It's just a dream in my mind.
Thank you. Next.
Shiga Sports Japan, David Schneider. Question for Lance. Obviously, the vibration is the main focus right now for improving the car as well as the reliability. Once that is resolved, how quickly do you expect the pace of your car to catch up with the midfield?
To work on.
Thanks, Lance. Next.
John Owen from the race. To Charles, on the qualifying issue, your sprint qualifying second effort in China is a good case study of quirks in one part of the track affecting deployment elsewhere. How hard was it, and what was your reaction when you found out that a throttle lift in one corner kind of wrecked energy deployment half a lap later? And is the key for qualifying to maybe put more of this energy deployment in the hands of the drivers rather than computer code?
I think there are some fine-tunings like the one you just said with that very small lift, which was, I think, out of 9, which kind of changes all the deployment, and then I lost half a second in one straight. And these are the kind of changes that I think we are all little by little pinpointing it to the FIA, and I'm sure that there will be some changes in the future to try and address those issues, because it's a little bit silly that to lose half a second just because of a very small lift at some point. What was my reaction? I was very frustrated, very, very, very frustrated, because it's things that I mean, the lift was, I think, 2 or 3% of throttle, which is kind of nothing. It's in the vibration of all the foot. So yeah, it's not something that I expected at all. But it's something that I had experienced also before since testing, so I knew it was a possibility and these kind of things can happen. But when it happens, it's very frustrating, especially when it's in Q3.
Thank you. Next.
Ben Waterworth, Speed Cafe. Question for Lance. You were touching on the vibrations before. Is there anything that you and Fernando have been able to do physically to try and prepare yourself a little bit more while you've got those issues? And for yourself, is there any concern about flaring up your old hand injury sort of with the vibrations at the moment based on the previous injury you had with it?
Not much to do physically, no. Hands are all good.
Any concerns about the injury from a couple of years ago?
No, I just said it's all good.
Okay. Any more? Yes.
Scott Mitchell-Munn from The Race. A question for Franco. Franco, the qualifying deficit to Pierre in China, how much of that was down to any differences in car specification on upgrades on your side, and do you expect to have a completely equal car this weekend?
Yeah, I think so. China, we found something, especially Friday evening after that sprint quali, it was very big, the gap. We knew we had some differences because on Thursday, before running, my gearbox broke, so we had to swap, and that came with differences on the rear suspension, which was like an old part that we had in testing. That was the biggest one, and then some front wing under delivering that we still need to understand more. But I think generally the cars were in a much better place in the race. The rear stayed like that, but it's part of the issue we had in the gearbox. And yeah, I think here we should have the same. And generally, I've been feeling better with the car, and compared to Pierre, I think to understand a lot of the differences on driving that he has because of experience and him racing for so many years in F1 have been really, really helpful to improve myself. And yeah, I think I've been happier and happier with the car since Melbourne. I've been improving and getting closer, and it's definitely going to help these things on the rear, on the front wing, getting to get a bit closer. But yeah, I think it's part of the process. The teams are still bringing parts, and with new cars, we are working really hard back in Enstone, here on track, back in factory to bring all the bits and pieces we can of performance, and that really race of development between teams is getting bigger and bigger, and the ones that bring the parts of the car quicker is going to be a big benefit. So yeah, let's see here. I think new track for me, but again, one I really wanted to drive in, and hopefully the car is quick and we can fight for more points with Pierre.
Thank you. Yes, another one, please.
Jay Brooks, Local Sport. Question for Charles, please. Charles, you spoke about this being a development season. Could you just talk about what kind of areas of attention you'd like that are on your shopping list, and do you think it's realistic for Ferrari to beat Mercedes over the course of the season? Thank you.
I mean, we are still very early on in the season, so yes, I do believe it's possible. Is it a huge challenge? It absolutely is, and I think also because Mercedes is not relaxing and will keep pushing massively as well. The point of focus at this moment of the season, at this moment of these regulations, there are many. Obviously, there's the optimization of the power unit. That is probably the biggest difference between us and Mercedes at the moment is the power unit. And just with the optimization, you can make a big difference. Then, of course, there's not only that, there's also raw power that for now we are down compared to them. And then on the chassis, it's just all the fine tunings that you can think of that you always pinpoint at the beginning of the season, where you try and understand what is the main limitation that is limiting you, and we are starting to have quite a clear picture on what are the characteristics of the car that we need to improve in order to get better. But I think chassis-wise, it's quite a strong car actually, and that's probably our strength so far. Power unit is where we are lacking compared to the Mercedes at the moment.
Thank you, Charles. Next.
Ronald Vording, Motorsport.com. It's another one for Charles, basically to go back to the yo-yo racing that we talked about before. Franco said it might get better later on in the season with more races. Do you think that yo-yo racing will get less the more teams learn about energy management, or is it just part of the DNA of these regulations?
I said the same thing actually after Australia, but in Shanghai we've had obviously the sprint race and then the normal race, and so the sprint race was, I think, a good way to test those strategies and to make sure that we were in a good window for the race. And actually in the race we still had quite a lot of overtakes, so I think we might see a little bit less of it going forward. However, I was surprised that it didn't get much better from sprint race to the race. In a positive way, I think it was as good for overtaking. So yeah, I'm a little bit mixed. After the first race, I was pretty sure it was going to get less and less. There will be less and less yo-yo effect. However, after Shanghai, probably there's quite a bit coming from the car as well, and that will remain.
Thanks, Joe. Yep, another one, David.
Hey, David Cross, Sky Sports F1. It's a question for Lance. A lot of people are talking about when are Aston going to get, improvements, when's the engine going to be improved. But from a driver's perspective, how painful is it to drive this car? At what stage into a stint or into a race do you start to feel those vibrations hurting you? How much longer do you think that you can carry on? Obviously, China wasn't anything you could do about with the retirement there. And just what is the sensations feeling like from a driver's perspective?
Right now I think we can complete like half the race. But then also we just have reliability issues. So yeah, it's very uncomfortable. And but at the end of the day, we just want to be much more competitive as a team. That's the most painful thing for everyone. And, we're all pushing very hard to just bring more performance and, get back in the fight where we want to be, which is, up at the front of the pack. So, everyone's focus, and yeah, it's just about getting there as quickly as we can.
Thank you, Lance. Any more? Yes.
Scott Mitchell-Mann from The Race. A question for Charles, but if either of the other two drivers have anything to add, please do. With the trade-off here for energy management in qualifying, just wondered, I know the end of the longest straights are obviously going to be big priority areas, but for the Degner curves, so turns 8 and 9, those are like probably the two best corners on the circuit, just in terms of how you attack them. Is there a risk at all that ends up a bit like turns 9 and 10 in Melbourne, where you're having to energy manage so much on the entry to Degner 1 that the entry speed's so low that it's not the challenge that it used to be?
I'm not 100% sure yet because I did the simulator. I obviously did the simulator, but these new rules weren't out yet, so I did it on the previous kind of qualifying rules. Which my feedback was that it was quite a shame for turn 8, 9, for also some of the corners which weren't really corners where we were pushing anymore, but more about energy management. However, it's going in the right direction, the changes that have been made since then. So I hope it can brings back the character out of these corners, because that's what makes Suzuka so special and so enjoyable to drive. And we shouldn't lose that, especially in qualifying when you really push the car to the limit. So again, I really hope we have that once we get into the car tomorrow.
Thank you, Charles. If we're quick, we can squeeze in one more.
Andrew Benson, BBC Sport. It's a follow-up to that one. What is the risk of the S's not being grip limited in qualifying this year? Charles mainly, but Franco, if you've got an opinion on that, that would be interesting. Lance, I don't know whether you do, but you might not know because of your car.
I'll be. I mean, I don't think it will be all power limited through that. I mean, it will be a very big surprise. But again, with these cars, we're probably not going to have a lot of power through the S's. But before speaking, I would like to see also what are the implications of the change that have been made since I was last on the simulator, because as I said, it goes in the right direction. Then I think we will at one point hit a limit with those cars, but it comes at the benefit of racing, because honestly, I don't think that we've seen in the last quite a few years in Formula One as many overtakes as we've seen in the first few races, as many excitement as well in the ahead of the pack. So that is a good thing. However, it comes at a bit of a cost, where in qualifying we need to find compromises, which we are trying to work around that at the moment, but we didn't quite find the fix. So. But yeah, I expect the first sector a little bit less exciting compared to last year, for sure, in qualifying.
Right, and we're going to have to end it there, I'm afraid. We're out of time. Thank you very much for that. Best one Japanese Grand Prix. Joining us now, left to right, we have Lando Norris, Ollie Bearman, and Liam Lawson. Now, Ollie, I'd love to know what you're showing on the screen there, but why don't we start with you anyway? Look, what a start to the season it's been for you. You scored every opportunity and now sit P5 in the World Championship. How do you reflect on the season so far? What's pleased you most? Aspect of this car are you enjoying the most? Where's it quick? Where do you feel you're able to get the most out of it?
Well, I mean the chassis is and the aero is great. The guys have done a great job in the team, with bringing us a good car from race one. Basically, we made a big step throughout the test, and the car has improved a lot since the test, and now we're in a really good place. So I've been enjoying it. I think on this track it's going to feel interesting, but that's out of our hands. What we've done, the team, I'm really proud of the job they've done.
Can we get your thoughts on the changes to the amount of energy recharge that the teams are going to be doing over one lap in qualifying? Do you welcome the change?
I mean, it's just making us even slower. I mean, on one hand, we don't have to do any lifting coast anymore, which is probably a bit better for us, but it just means we have to do a lot of I mean, we still have to recharge the energy, and we spend a lot of time just with no energy because we're losing 1 megajoule compared to what we had on the sim and you know, prior to coming here. So I think there's better ways of achieving the same thing. If we could harvest at negative 350 kilowatts while on full throttle, I think it would make everyone's lives a bit easier. But this is also a solution, I guess.
Look, thank you for that. Lando, can I bring you in on the subject of the energy recharge in qualifying? Can we get your thoughts? Do you welcome it?
I mean, it's different. I need to go out and drive with it first. I think it will eliminate some things. It will shift around some other bits. I think the thing is you also have tracks where it will be better. Tracks, like some tracks it will work and be a much better thing. Some tracks it won't change too much. So it should be a little bit better here. It's not like it's going to change the whole world. But yeah, honestly, I need to go and drive on track first and understand it.
Look, before we talk more about this weekend, can we throw it back to China?
No.
Look, it was a very tough moment for you and the team with neither you nor Oscar able to make the start. Do you guys fully understand the cause of the problems?
Yep. Yeah. I know. Alongside HPP, I think it took a little bit of time.
The race in China. You're still learning about this car. What conclusions are you reaching at this early stage? How much potential does the car have?
The car's got a lot of potential. You know, we're certainly not where we want it to be, but I think I think the real question you probably ask is, would I rather be here and have won last year, or would I rather have a slightly better car now and not have won last year? And I think you know what, for the top.
Lando, thanks for that. And Liam, let's come to you now. What a difference a year makes. You're coming to Suzuka on the back of a brilliant Chinese Grand Prix weekend. Just how much confidence did those 2 points finishes give you in Shanghai?
Yeah, I mean, it was good.
Driving point of view, are you enjoying this year's smaller, lighter cars?
They're very different for us to drive at the moment. They're very different to get used to each track. I think the thing is, the big difference, we used to go into weekends spending pretty much all of our time thinking about setting up the car and optimizing the car balance. Right now, it's really energy management, we spend so much time talking about trying to manage the energy and get the most out of that because there's so much lap time in it. The racing is quite different as well. We have to basically use a lot of different tools and drive a lot differently to try and overtake and defend. And it's something that we're still learning. So far, because it's new, it's obviously quite different and difficult, to be honest. So it's something that we're all still getting used to.
Are you having to be more strategic in your approach to the racing this year compared to last year when you had DRS, for example?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's just more consequences when you get it wrong. If you use too much energy or something like this, it can be quite punishing. So we definitely have to. You're doing a lot more thinking, I would say, when you're driving.
Okay, thank you for that. Let's now open this to the floor. We will start with the broadcasters and David.
Yeah, David Croft, Sky Sports F1. It's a question for Liam and for Ollie, because you've had a bit more racing than Lando. Sorry, Lando, I don't want to talk about China for too much. How have you had to change your driving style this season with the new cars, or have you not had to change your driving style? What's different in the cockpit when you're racing this year?
It is for both of us, yeah. I would say it's quite easy to like we would say overdrive. I think in last year's car, you go into qualifying and you try to make quite a big step with obviously how much downforce the cars have. You gain grip and you start attacking the car in qualifying. And obviously you can still do it and get it wrong and overdrive, but it was definitely an exciting factor going into qualifying when your car is light, you're trying to attack it. But I think this year the harder thing is it's very easy to overstep that and use too much and basically make a mistake. So I think this year, pretty much all quali, like Melbourne quali for me, it took me all the way to Q3 on a used tyre to actually just put a lap together, because all the laps before that I just kept trying to attack and basically making a mistake and actually just bringing it back. So it's definitely a different thing that we're having to get used to.
Ollie, your thoughts?
Yeah, it's quite a difference, particularly in qualifying. I think that there have been some moments where you know, for example, in Canada, I'm ahead of myself. In China, we were in, you know, it went through the whole of qualifying, and actually on my final lap, I did all of my best corners, but I actually went slower by like 0.2 because sometimes actually going faster in the corners and picking up throttle earlier, it confuses the car, and you end up losing outright lap time, which is really strange. Even sometimes, like, you know, there are some corners, there's not many, but, you know, 1 or 2 corners per track where if you go on throttle and then lift and return to throttle, it just messes up everything. Like, it can be 3% of throttle, and that can finish your lap, basically. So it happened to me in China, and I lost 0.2 down the back straight, and I was so confused. And then you look back, and they're like, oh yeah, you had 5% less battery to start the straight, and that's really the difference that it can make. So it's tough because I think what they've tried to do to help us is, you know, is already starting this weekend, but it's tough because the way that we've always driven, you know, you push more and more throughout qualifying, and you get to that final run, you try to get everything out of it, and it ends up being slower. Actually, you're better off just driving at 99% and doing consistent laps. Which is a bit against our nature, you know, it's something we're having to adjust to. Then in the race, I think it's a bit more straightforward. But yeah, definitely on qualifying, it takes a bit of adjustment.
Ollie, what do you think a track like Monaco will be like? Will you be back to 100%?
Well, actually Monaco, because it's so short, there's so many braking zones. I haven't done any sim or anything. I haven't even looked at any stuff for Monaco, but I expect it to be maybe one of the closer tracks to what we've had in the past. It's more those kind of short straights where you only want to deploy a tiny amount of energy, that if you have a snap or whatever and you lift throttle, then you deploy way more than you're meant to. I think Monaco will be a bit more normal. I'm quite looking forward to Monaco.
All right, thank you. Next one, please.
Mara San Giorgio, Sky Sport F1 Italy. A question to Lando. Lando, the season has just started. It's very unusual. Will you be able, as a team, to fight again like last year, for example, for a title? How much are you confident?
I mean, I don't know. I can't remember how many points we were behind in 24 from you know, Mercedes and Red Bull, Ferrari. But I think it was, you know, we're over 150 points or something behind, and we still managed to come back and win the constructors. So. And I don't know how far we are behind now. It's already quite a bit, but I think we're not necessarily thinking of that just yet. I think what we are thinking of is getting on the podium first of all, and then just returning to winning races. The points then take care of themselves, and we'll see what we can claw back. But and we're confident in that. I want to say I think we're confident as a team, and we believe in ourselves that. You know, we've won the last 2 championships, and we won the drivers last year because we could build the best car on the grid. And I'm confident we can get back to doing that this year. So, just takes time. You have to be patient. But yeah, I have a good belief in the team, and I think we can have the best car this year.
Thank you, Lando. Next.
Andrew Benson, BBC Sports, for all 3 of you. What's leading to the yo-yo racing that's happening at the moment? What different aspects are leading to it? Because I think it might be different from track to track. And interrelated to that, how much of this year's engine is going to ruin Suzuka on a qualifying lap, if you've done the sim already? In terms of, you know, which corners are no longer grip limited because you, like the S's, for example, in case you're recovering energy there.
World champion, can we start with you?
I mean, it's never ruined. I don't think you can ever ruin this track. I think will it be as spectacular? I don't think so. It will not be, but it's still an incredible track to drive. There'll certainly be some places where it just won't be as, you know, you'll start clipping into spoon, and you know, that's one of the quickest corners where you turn in. You're going incredibly quick. Like last year, you didn't even break into spoon entry. You did? Yeah. You'll learn. One day, guys. so it didn't even break. And like that's, it took a risk to get to that point, and it feels incredible when you're in quali and you're pushing it to the limits like that. Like Degner 1, not even a full lift, that kind of thing. So you probably were full lift, yeah, and downshift. So I don't think, to be honest, we might just be flat through those corners now because you're clipping, and it's quite a different world. So it'll be better now, I think. I think you'll see some places not as spectacular as what it's been in the past, but I think it's still going to be cool to drive in qualifying. And the yo-yoing in the racing, I think everyone's going to have a different opinion on this one. You just use your battery, and the next straight you have no battery. So it's, the thing is, it looks great on TV, and it's good. The viewers seem to love it. I think a lot of people seem to love it. It's just a different type of racing, and I enjoyed sitting on the side last weekend and watching the battles of Ferrari and things like that. It was cool to see, honestly. So part of me is like, that's a good thing, but some of that racing is because simply the guy who overtakes, because he has to use the battery, then has absolutely zero battery, and you're just a complete passenger and you can't do anything. So you're not exactly racing when you're in that situation as well as you were before. So depends what you want, depends how you want to view it. FIA are trying to make improvements to these kind of things, and I think they will over time. So not in the position where I think it's as good as it can be, but we'll give it time.
I think some of the greatest aspects of this track might not be as great this year, simply because of the energy constraints and the fact that we have to recharge Degner 1, Spoon, all of these places. Maybe I'll go faster than last year, actually. But yeah, it's just watching the onboard. When I arrived today, start watching all of the onboard and everything from last year. It's so spectacular. The fact is we've lost, a lot of downforce compared to last year, which is one thing, and that, will be one thing. But also on in terms of energy, like we were seeing, Degner might be not really a grip limited corner anymore, because it would become power limited, which is a bit of a shame. But let's see how it looks out there on track. And about the racing, I think it's really good for the show. I think the races look fantastic, but it's tough sometimes. I had a bit of experience racing with Franco in China, and you spend a lap thinking about where to plan the move, and then you finally go for it, and then he just flies past you on the next straight because he's got so much more battery. So it's really frustrating if you can't get it right. It's a bit, again, it's not what we've been used to throughout our careers, right? Normally when you get a better exit, you get a better run all the way down the straight, but that's not necessarily the case anymore, which is weird. But generally I think it's been really good for the show, and with a bit of optimization and changes, the FIA have been incredibly receptive to that. I think we can make it just as good for the show, but a bit more rewarding for us as drivers. So I'm excited to see what we can do with this hardware. I think it has a fantastic potential.
Honestly, not much to add. I think they answered it very, very well. I think it's a track that obviously in history is a very iconic place, very exciting to drive, very on the limits, especially in qualifying, and especially with the fact that we can't have lots of SM here as well because of the way the straights are. That's going to obviously make it even more hard on the battery. So it's definitely a tricky one. And from the racing side, I honestly agree. I think obviously it has potential. It's very early days, and I'm sure that it'll get better. But from a driver's perspective, that sort of real racing feeling that we are used to is just slightly different this year in the way that you have to plan these moves, and sometimes even if you're clever and you use your battery right, like Ollie said, you can just get past back basically. So it's something we're getting used to.
Okay, thanks all. Let's include the written media now. Let's open it up to the written as well. Who's first, please?
Shiga Sports Japan, question for Oliver. Oliver, you had quite a few days here, quite a few days in Japan. I think you drove iconic Toyota cars in the beautiful nature of Japan, and I believe you met Godzilla at a promotional event. Can you talk about this, and how has the general reception
I met the statue.
and how has the fan reception been compared to last year? Obviously, there are many more fans actually wearing Toyota and, Haas gear.
Yeah, no, it's been fantastic. I've been here for a good few days now. I visited Toyota City. I visited the racetrack that they have, which is insane. Really, really fun to drive. I drove some awesome cars there as well. So I had a lot of fun. And no, generally, I just really enjoy being here in Japan. My flight was delayed last year. I didn't make it. I was meant to drive on the track and everything, do all of the events last year, but I didn't make it in time. So I was really gutted, and now I managed to. So I'm super happy. I very much enjoyed it, and also spending a bit of time in Tokyo as well. Incredible city. The fan reception is great, like always there. So polite, so thoughtful. And the track is up there in my top 3. So it's all in all, it's been a great week so far, and hopefully we can have a good race weekend that would top it off.
Thanks, Ollie. Next.
Ben Waterworth, Speed Cafe. Question for Liam. You were touching on before in China about how it was a race you weren't expecting to do so well, recover to get some points, obviously through circumstances you mentioned. But how encouraging is it that you're able to come away from a race weekend that you're maybe not expecting to do well, come away with some points, and sort of how do you think that will place you for the rest of the year when it comes to tracks where maybe you're expecting that as well?
I mean, obviously, touch wood, so far it's been, quite good reliability. We obviously had a tough start in Melbourne in the race, just from an issue on the start line. But in terms of the rest of the reliability, it's been okay. And obviously, China, a lot of cars, I think 7 cars maybe, didn't finish. So at this point of the season, it's really important to basically make the most of those races, and that's really what we did in China. We played a good strategy. We basically, all the things in our control, obviously outside the performance, which we try to get the most out of, we maximise, which is what we're trying to do each weekend. So we'll try to do the same this weekend. I think obviously going into the next part of the season, quite a few teams will be bringing, like us, upgrades and things, and the development race will be fully underway.
Thanks for that. Next one.
John Noble from the race to Ollie. Going back to your comments about the quirks of qualifying, the FIN team's obviously trying to push for a way to make it back to a flat-out event. What do you think it will take to do that? Is it just a question of increasing harvesting, maybe through 350k super clipping, minimizing deployment, or is it a wholesale rethink to get rid of these algorithms and strange code that if you come off the throttle by more than 3%, your lap's wrecked?
Yeah, I mean, that's an extreme case. It's not going to be the case at every track and every corner. It's that like I said, there's kind of those corners. There's one, more or less, on every track where you have to be a bit careful and sometimes drive under the limit. But still, that's not what we want to do as drivers, particularly in qualifying. Normally, the faster you drive around the corner, the faster your lap time is. And if that's not the case, it feels a bit strange. I don't know what the changes are needed. I'm not an engineer, but I think we can do better with what we have, and I hope that this weekend is already a step in that direction. And then, even just giving a bit more flexibility on the software side of things. For example, this minus 350 at full throttle, I think that would feel better as well, just as a starting point. But like I said, the FIA have been incredibly receptive, so I think just continuing to work together with them, we're going to make good progress. And now we have a long break as well before the next race. So in terms of optimizing things, I think it comes at a good time, even if the circumstances are incredibly sad and unfortunate.
Thanks, Ollie. Next.
Ronald Vording, motorsport.com. It's one for Ollie and Lando, because I saw the two of you laughing after Ollie said super potential for racing. So what is needed to get to that super potential? Because consensus in the team's meeting after China was that we need to work on qualifying, but the racing looked kind of okay. So do you think it will get less artificial as time passes by, or are like specific changes needed to make it less artificial?
It's difficult. I mean, yeah. I mean, there's ways you can probably quite easily fix it in some ways, but it's tough because you know, from the outside, and in the end of the day, that's what it's all about. Is what you guys see. It's what the TV sees. It's what the fans want to see. You know, if they're happy, then that kind of sorts everything. At the same time, you know, and I think as drivers and some of us, you know, we still just want the best cars to drive, and cars that you feel like you're on the limit, you can go flat out, you can plan an overtake, and you can then defend. In a lot of cases now, you do an overtake, you can't even defend because the guy comes past you at 60 kph more. So, you know, those kind of silly things where you feel like you've achieved something, you brake later, you've overtaken them, and then you're just at the mercy of whatever battery you got. You know, those are the situations I think that are just annoying and tricky to deal with when you're inside the car. But at the same time, like Ollie said, I think that there's potential in what we have. It's not like, let's just go back to what we have last year. There's potential in what we have. It just needs tweaking. It needs alterations. The more places we go to through the season, the more, you know, we'll learn, the FIA will learn, and things can be improved. So I think it needs a little bit of time. Again, you have to be patient with it. But I think just adjusting, you know, what level of battery we have, what power we have. We have a lot more power than we had last year when it is there. It just goes away too quick, and therefore then you get to the point with not having the battery when you need it. So, you know, there are little things you can do to tweak it, and hopefully we see them happen over time.
Anything you want to add, Ollie?
Would you mind repeating the question?
Well, you said there's great potential, so what's needed to get that potential out? Will it be just a matter of time, or is it tweaks needed to make the racing less competition?
Yeah, I think it's tough because, you know, F1, FIA, it's not as easy as it looks for them because, you know, we go from having these amazing cars to drive. Qualifying was one of the biggest spectacles, but it was also quite tough to follow and tough to stay close. And so we complain a little bit about not being able to overtake, and then we get to this new car where the overtakes have tripled, and now we complain that there's too many overtakes. So there's an element of drivers always, you know, finding something to complain about. But I think it feels just a little bit overkill at this stage where it's not necessarily that you're faster, that you can overtake easily. It's not necessarily that you can stay in front and defend your position if you have a quicker car, and that is tough. And as Lando said, like if you really give everything, you brake later, or you do a great defensive move, it's not necessarily going to be the case that you hold on to the position because, you know, if there's a long straight afterwards, you're in trouble. So it's tough because, you know, you have a lot of speed on the exit, but at the end of the straight, small difference in power can result in a big overspeed. So those big overspeeds are tough to really do anything against. When the guy's coming past you at such a speed, you can't hold on to the position. So I don't know, but the happy, you know, the thing that makes me happy is that we're working together and trying to improve it.
All right, thank you, Ollie. If we're quick, we can do one more. No, we haven't got enough time. Okay, we're out. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Good luck this weekend.